Madwa, Panyaway Roshlum, Stand Face Jerusalem. Blessing of the Feast of Dedication. Barakatah Yahweh Basham Yahweh Asherah Nathan the Noah Hakha Kanakha Bashalawam the water Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the feast of dedication and peace. Thank you, so be it. The Al Ma'ar Shariah Makhad, Psalm 121. Anya Harayam Yim Yim Ya Oh Harim Mayan Yabawa Zoria Yabawa Mayahu Shai Shai Shemayim Warataza La Yanathan Lama what? Regalia Yela Joshua Marka Hana La Walla Yeshan Joshua Mar Yeshua Yahweh Shamaria Yahweh Tazalia Ayo Yim Yawamam Hashemash La Hakaya Wayarak La Balayala Yahweh Yashamaria Makam Yashama Napasha Yahweh Yashama Hawalakya Wabawaya My Fa wa Aid I will Basham Yahusha for what a man.
Psalms, chapter 121. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Shema Yasharallah, Hero Israel. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad.
Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen.
Thapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abiyanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kudash, Hayya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwathka, Taba'a, Ratazawanka, Hayya, Aisha, Barataza, Kabashemayim, Bamanawa, Lacham, Yawam. Sad wasalaknawa, kabawaknawa, kasalaknawa, kabawaknawa, wala abiyarnawa, oh, nasayawan, above, hawashinawa, marakaya, laka, hamalakwa, wa ala, wa thapara, wa walam, aman.
Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Amen. Aisharam Atazawaf, the Ten Commandments. La'ab, Yahayab, Lakab, Alahayam, Lakharim, Alpinyat, La'ab, Taishab, Lakab, Pasab, Wala'ab, Vaibadam, La'ab, Balakwaka, Shamweb, Yahweh, Alahayakab, Lashawat, Zakar, Ath, Hayawam, Hashabat, Lakudashwad, Kabad, Abiyakab, Wa Amakab, La'ad, Taratazak, La'ad, Tana'at, La'ad, Taganab, La'ad, Tainad, Shakur, La'ad, Takhamad, Ko, Asherat, Lara'ikab, Amen.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Amen. You shall well be seated. Barakateh Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Asheranah Tananah, Pari Agapan, Tuad Aman. La Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Av Yasher Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. At Madwa, Panuwa Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Barakateh Yahweh, Agado, Rakawam, Mabiyah, Wanawa'eh, Al Yawan, Malak, Shal Shamayim, Warataza, Wakao, Dabarim, Kayayam, Wagam, Hamashayak, Mayahawa, Arawanawa, Ahamnawa, Apalai, Yawa Aitaza, Yahawashai, Zakarnawa, Yahawa, Bartazawan, Ainka, Yashala, Izarnawa, Banai, Wasap, Yashala, Oh, Nanawa, Yem Yan, Aifat, Kayawamyam, Makudam, Babakusha, Shalak, Mike Allah, Watazwadak, Alahayam, La, Maganawa, Raparnawa, Washamad, Alnawa, Bakwa, Shalak, Haroka, Shal, Yahweh, Lanawa, Lalabanawa, Rabiam, Kakama, Tabawana, what a Shal, the Barka, Basham, Yahweh, the water, the Yad, why will Aman. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth and all things living, and also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel most high, we beg you, right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us, to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, always and forever, so be it. Repeat the Hebrew Omen. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the law. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherat, Natan Lanawa, HaTawarat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us light to see. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherat, Natan Lanawa, Awar, Lara Awat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherat, Natan Lanawa, Quran, Ha'ayah, La Quran, Ha'aim. Yeshua, be seated. All right, so Shalom Yasharala. So Shalom, everybody here in the Philly School. Shalom, everybody listening to us on stream. On teleconference rather. And shalom, everybody watching us on live stream. Watching and listening on live stream. So welcome to Ha Yasharala Kanas, or the Congregation of Israel, one of many branches of Christ in these last days. It teaches the truth, which is what? So-called descendants of slaves, as well as the indigenous peoples found in North, Central South America and the Caribbean mainly, make up the southern and northern kingdoms of the 12 tribes of Israel, once lost, now found. And that we've come out of this, fallen to this lower state, politically, economically, even religiously, because we broke the laws of God found in the Bible given to us by Moses. And the way we come out of this lower state is by turning back to these commandments that we broke, by following Jesus Christ as our example, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. And we look forward to, as far as him making his second coming on earth. So one way we do that is by remembering today and why today is important, this being the beginning of the Feast of Dedication, which is a feast week kept similar to, as we see in scriptures, how we will keep the Feast of Tabernacles in the fall. We keep this in similar fashion in the time of the winter. To remember, just like the title says, the Feast of Dedication, or fully understood as the rededication of the altar. So as you read the history of the scriptures pertaining to why we remember this time of year and what our forefathers did when dealing with oppression from the heathen, the other nations, in this case, the Greeks, we can remember every year why this time of year it's so important to remember what those righteous men and women did to stand up against the oppression that we were dealing with at the time. And how we had to rededicate the altar, which is referring to the altar of burnt offering, because it had become defiled, because we as a people had become defiled for the leadership on down. So it took a handful of righteous brothers, mainly spearheaded by the son of Matthias, who we're going to read about tonight, who they were known collectively as the Maccabees. It took them and their fathers standing up the wickedness that the Greeks and those following them were pushing to then set a righteous standard once again. In dealing with the conflicts that they faced doing that, standing up for righteousness in wicked times. So we can definitely relate to this story as it pertains to what we go through now, because we see we're in wicked times today too. With that same nation of people calling themselves something else in power, and then pushing wickedness, then pushing things that go against the commandments. A lot of things being borrowed from other heathens, especially Hamites. They take those same wicked customs Hamites followed, and then just change the face of those same false gods and those same practices and call it their own. So the main history we find, or the main place we read to find the history on the Feast of Dedication is in the Apocrypha, which was originally a part of the Authorized King James Version translation, you can see here at the top. And I'm actually reading out of this Bible, which is hard to come by. The King James Version with Apocrypha, published by Cambridge. They may have reprinted it, but last I checked, it's out of print. So you might have to just find it out there on the internet somewhere on social media, with the hopes being that whoever does have it and whoever is trying to sell it isn't selling it for like overpricing it. So oftentimes for books that are out of print, people still have them and they want to sell them. They'll bump up the price to a ridiculous amount. I think normally this thing goes for like 70. You'll see the same Bible since it's out of print. $500, $700, $1,000. As a lot of the brothers out there in different camps, especially the brothers that deal with the history, I know they've probably seen that a lot with certain books that have history pertaining to our people being the real Jews. If they're rare or hard to come by, you'll see the heathen, they'll have those books and they'll sell them for a super high price. But they can't take the information that matters most, which is the law, statutes, and commandments. So let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. As you get that, just to let you know, my name is Nabiab Zerubbabel. I'll be doing the service this evening. And for your records, just put that according to the Gregorian calendar, which most of us are familiar with. It's December 19th, 2019. But according to our calendar, the Hebrew calendar, it's the 9th month and the 25th day. We're celebrating the opening of Hanukkah, which in the Hebrew, you would spell it Cha, which is phonetically spelled C-H-A-A, Na, N-A, phonetically, Ka, which is K-A, and then Ha, you call it the final Ha, so you just put an H at the end. So you can spell it, according to the ancient Hebrew, phonetically, Chaakanh. I just cut off the final A. So we were discussing it earlier. The brother had a question about it. So we'll say Shar Chag Hanukkah, which just means happy feast of dedication. So First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. Does everyone have it? All right, so let's see how much we can get done tonight. I don't want to go too late, but I want to see if I can get through all 4 chapters. So I'm going to try to be as terse and to the point as possible. But still feel free to pull scriptures if need be. We can just add them to our notes as we go through. So First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. And it reads, "And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian." So we're talking about Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, which was a section of Greece. This Alexander being the one they know as, or that they call Alexander the Great in history, given the great feats that he did in the earth when it came to warfare and to conquering and to establishing the Grecians as the dominant empire on the earth. It says, who came out of the land of Kittim, which you'll see it spelled Kittim as well. Those are the original Japhetic people that were in what we call Italy now today. So we were still called after the name of the original inhabitants. Had smitten Darius, king of the Persians, and Medes. They were the ruling empire that was set up before Alexander became the dominant empire. As prophesied by our prophets before, as you see in Daniel chapter 8, he has a vision pertaining to the Medes and the Persians, as well as the Greeks that will come after them. It says, and he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. So he united all the different Edomite countries at that time, not just Macedonia, but other ones under one banner, Greece. Hence the Grecians. Then it says in verse 2, and made many wars and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth. Verse 3, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. So he went further out south, further out east. When you see that and read the history of the maps of what they conquered, you'll see that after he died, he parted it, as we're going to read, amongst his 4 top generals, right? And they all took over different regions. Right? One would take over a portion of land that was in the north. One took a portion of land that was in the south, of what we call Africa, and also in the east. And you had a part that was taken over in the center as well, as far as Israel being in the middle. It says in verse 4, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. So when the dominant empire comes into authority, they'll pay tribute or like a tax to acknowledge that that particular kingdom or ruler is the chief ruler. Verse 4, and gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries. I read this. 5, after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. So coming to the end of his life, which wasn't long, he did a lot carnally speaking, but he had a short life. He died in his 30s, early 30s at that. 6, wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. That's what we're discussing earlier, right? The 4 you can remember, if you had probably had them from your notes in the previous year, if you kept the feast dedication, you know, we always go into those 4 particular generals that he set up. Ptolemy being in the south, what we call North Africa today. You had Antigonus. He was actually in the center. He's actually a fifth character that we don't always hear about, but he was there too. Then you had Seleucus, right? He was the one that was set up over the land that was in the east, as well as what we call Asia Minor. Then you had Cassander that was in the north. Right? He ruled over what we call Ketum, or what we would call Ketum, but what you see today referred to as Italy. So we hear these different generals set up, ruling over different parts of the empire. You look on the map. I think this particular Bible I have has a picture. So I can share it with you briefly before we continue on. So a major part of history, we see it's part of the scriptures as far as the history that we acknowledge, or that we prophesied about. So yeah, at the back of this particular Bible, you see down here, all the different regions broken up. I'm not sure if it's kind of fuzzy. See if I can get it to be a little more sharper. Okay, there we go. So this particular map, you'll see Seleucus, he's in green. Then you got Ptolemy in purple. You got Antigonus, he's blue. And then you got up there in yellow, that's referring to the region that Cassander had ruled over. So let's continue on. So First Maccabees chapter 1. In verse 7, it reads, "So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bare rule everyone in his place." You'll see even to this day with Esau, they always look back or hearken back to Alexander, right? Because for them, that's considered honorable. Not so much when you live a righteous life, but even if you lived a life of debauchery like he did, how much you got done carnally in a short period of time. And dying young is considered an honor, especially if you did a whole bunch while you were here. But that's not really what makes you great as far as the Most High is concerned. And then you have figures like Julius Caesar, who came later, who read his history. He was obsessed with trying to take over the same amount that Alexander did. He felt so sorry that he couldn't reach the same level as him by the age that by the same age that Alexander did. But even he has a name. Even he's prophesied by the prophet Ezra. When you check out the vision that Ezra had concerning the eagle with the wings. I know we did that some Sabbaths ago. So let's continue on. It says, verse 9, "And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, and so did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth." So the same regions I showed you, those generals had sons and daughters who had sons and daughters who had sons and daughters, right? To be dynasties of those portions of the Greek Empire. Notice what it says. "As these Greeks flourished, that evils became multiplied." So another evil, wicked nation. As we know, all the nations are wicked because all the nations, their gods are idols. It tells us that in the Psalms. And the Greeks too. It says in verse 10, "And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king." So this is Antiochus Epiphanes. He was the fourth, and then his father was the third. When you go into the Seleucid dynasty, or those particular Greek rulers that came under Seleucus. It says, "Who had been in hostage at Rome." So Rome, the Romans hadn't become the dominant empire yet, but they would be the ones to take out the Greeks. Both Edomites, just different empires. It's like you have different Hamite nations, right? They're Hamites, but you might have different families of Ham that rule different parts. It says, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. So they had the timetable they set up based on when they established their rule. So going into the future from roughly around 333 to 323 BC, that's like the time frame of Alexander when he was doing his thing. So they started counting from him establishing a united Grecian empire. Reading on in verse 11, it says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So we had those of our people, Israel, that weren't in their right mind, trying to emulate, right? The oppressor, the other nations, in this case, the Greeks. And they said, we've had much sorrow since they departed from us. So it's like, we've been waiting for so long to get back into, hooking up with them and doing what they do. Verse 12, so this device pleased them well. 13, then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. So we know with the Olympic Games, at least not to say that, they were the only ones that raced, because you had other nations that raced. We even did races ourselves. You read the Psalms. But as far as the way the Greeks set it up, that's what Israel is doing here, right? And you look at the archaeology, especially the pottery, you'll see that the men and the women had different games they did, and they oftentimes did it with nothing on. Or you'll see them sometimes with the leaf covering, that's their private member. You'll see them even out in the buff doing it, right? With no clothes on. Most schools we went to had a gymnasium, right? Where you can do different sports. That word is a Greek word, which means to work out in the nude, right? So you have to make these connections between the thing that we say and see now, going back even to them. Because remember, the Edomites now, they're the same people. You see them adopting the same practices, especially from the Greeks and the Romans. They may call themselves British and Americans and Germans now. You look at a lot of things that they do, like the bathhouses and gymnasiums and other things they got going on, the Olympics. A lot of the styling behind it comes from those same places. It's those same practices that they've reintroduced. For folks who don't read history, you just look at the stuff like, oh, it's something new, it's something different. It says, verse 15, it made themselves uncircumcised. So we know the law of circumcision, but we know while you have the circumcision of the physical body, you also have circumcision of the spiritual body, right? So this, of course, dealing with the spiritual body circumcision, because you can't put your foreskin back on. That's ridiculous, right? So it's talking about the foreskin of their heart. It was supposed to be circumcised. It tells us that in Deuteronomy, right? Circumcise the foreskin of your heart. I think y'all just read that in the Sabbath not too long ago, right? You guys went through Deuteronomy. But now they've reversed that by going against the commandments of God and incorporating the practices of the Greeks. So it says, and made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant, joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. So we talk about being a sellout, right? People call somebody a sellout. It's you being bought for a price, right? As far as your values, your beliefs, your attitudes, being compromised because somebody else may have a power or position and they may offer you something, but in return, you have to defile yourself. You have to sin or transgress or go against them. I should say, follow them, right? Or follow their beliefs. And by you doing that, you now are sold to do mischief. reading on in 16, it says, sure.
Just to write them down, precepts. Deuteronomy 10 and 16. Romans chapter 2, verse 28 and 29. And Jeremiah 4 and 4.
Could you repeat those, Baba Kushab?
Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 16. Romans chapter 2, verse 28 and 29. And Jeremiah 4 and 4. 4 and 4.
Jeremiah 4 and 4. All this dealing with the circumcision of the heart?
Of the heart.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff, good stuff. So you can link all that with 15, yeah? Chapter 1 and verse 15, you can link those verses. I'll read them again, and we'll continue. Deuteronomy 10:16, Romans 2:28 and 29, Jeremiah 4 and 4. So 1 Maccabees 1 and 16 reads, now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt that he might have the dominion of 2 realms. So Esau, in classic fashion, have constant infighting. They may make you think try to make you think otherwise, but it's not true, right? They constantly have infighting. They just may not put it out there on Front Street in the modern era. Their media won't focus on it like that. But yeah, you see here there's power. You have one dynasty against another one, right? Because he wants to take over Egypt. That was supposed to be what belonged to Ptolemy and his descendants. He said, you know, I want Ptolemies for mine too. This particular descendant of the Seleucid dynasty. So it says in 17, wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants, and horsemen, and a great navy. So he's coming by land, he's coming by water too, to come from Asia Minor down to Egypt. In verse 18, it says, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. So there's Ptolemy right there, a descendant of the first Ptolemy. It says, but Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. So at times you would have certain ones taken out, but then they would come back again because Ptolemies would continue on for a time, even after this time of the Maccabees, even leading up to the end of the Grecian Empire. Even the Cleopatra that we talk about, we read about in history, she was part of that. You could say she was many generations down from the original Ptolemy. Right? You go into history. You have more than one Cleopatra too. When you look on the chart, if you go on Wikipedia, just look up like Hellenistic dynasty. You'll see they have all the different Ptolemies named. And I think with the Cleopatra that we tend to hear about during the Roman times with Mark Antony, you see that story. I think she's the 15th Cleopatra, if I'm not mistaken. So he had a lot of different ones. But technically, you go into it, they say, oh, how could they cast, Liz Taylor as the African, right, in that movie? But that actually might be a little more closer to accurate than we think, because she technically was a Ptolemy when you go into her father's side and her lineage. You just have to follow the family tree back. So continuing on, this is 19. 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 19. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt. He took the spoils thereof, 20. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. So now that he's taken over Egypt in the south, he's now coming back up to take over Israel, which is right there in the middle. In Jerusalem, their capital city. 21, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, right? which we see when it comes to rebukings that come for Edom, his judgment. We see pride being something the Most High sees when it comes to his nation. Not just him, other nations too. You see it being one of Moab's judgments too. You read about the prophets who judge Moab, or what we call Asia today, right? The so-called Chinese. You see them being rebuked for their pride too. And Esau was rebuked for his pride as well. You read Obadiah and other places. So it says, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof. So he's going into the temple and taking the holy vessels, right? The things that are supposed to be inside. Verse 22, and the table of the showbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censers of gold and the veil and the crowns and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. So the stuff on the outside, and especially the things on the inside what they call the holy place. Because once you go past where the altar burnt offering is, that's where you go into the holy place. That's where you find the candlestick and the censer, the altar of incense and table for the showbread, etc., etc. So they took all these things. 23, he took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also, he took the hidden treasures which he found. 24, when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. So not only did he steal, but he stole, but he murdered the people too. It says 25, therefore there was a great mourning in Israel in every place where they were, that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and the young men were made feeble, which just means weak, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness, right? So the things we would do that would normally bring us joy, right? Coming of age, rituals, ceremonies, these things stopped because a horrible event took place, a tragedy took place, right? A national tragedy, like America is so fond of talking about, right? Concerning herself. It says, the land also, verse 28, the land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. 29, after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, and came into Jerusalem with a great multitude. So now they're coming for tribute with their tributaries that we read about above. And spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. So he's talking one way, but his intentions are the opposite, like that famous psalm, right? Let's say their words were like butter, but they were drawn swords, right? So it says, he spake peaceful words unto them, but all was deceit. When they had given them credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. So if you wanted to get that verse I'm referring to, about the words being used as a weapon to deceive, you can write down Psalms 55. Either 21 or 22. Give me 1 second. I'll write the verse yet. I'm going to confirm. 21. Yeah, that links for 30. Come. 55 and 21 of Psalms links with 1 Maccabees 1 and 30. So back in 1 Maccabees 1, now we're going to read 31. When he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and the walls thereof on every side. 32, but the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle. Then built they the city of David with a great and strong wall and with mighty, and made it a stronghold for them. So now repurposing our lands, our regions, right, for their own purposes that they've taken over, right? Because even in wickedness, a wise conquest isn't going to destroy everything. You want to at least try to maintain what you conquer, right? If it can be helped. Right? Many men wise in war of different nations, our nation included, will speak to that, right? But then when it comes to us, we even have a principle about a city given unto idols. We still have to utterly destroy it and don't take any spoils. Because the city is just overgiven to idols, it's become completely defiled. Most nations wouldn't take that into account. There were some cases where we would take spoils, though. If you read about that, in that case, we wouldn't. Down the idolatrous city. So in verse 34, it says, and they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. So put their own people in there. So you guys were just talking about that in the Sabbath not too long ago, right? When you were Khan Samak, you were going into John chapter 4, right? Talking about the woman of Samaria and how they got there to begin with. As far as nations, when they take over, they can move things around as they see fit. People, right? So that's what they did here too. It says 34, and they put therein 35, and they stored it also with armor and victuals or food. When they had gathered together spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there. Rather, they laid, yeah. So they became a sore snare or trap. 36. For it was a place to lie and wait against the sanctuary and an evil adversary to Israel, right? Because most folks will think, okay, I'm going to the temple. I'm expecting what? Peace there. I'm expecting the priest to be there, right? Not these strange nations taking over and making a mess of things. 37. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it. 38. Insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon a city was made an habitation of strangers and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her, right? So now these new people are in our town, in our country, right? Very reminiscent of Isaiah chapter 1 and 7, right? Where it says, your country is desolate, right? Your cities are burned with fire, your land strangers devoured in your presence. We definitely see that in the modern era too. It says in 39, her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. So all the things that she was glorified for now become defiled, become flipped upside down, inside out. Verse 40, as had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. Sound familiar? Another one out of the Esau's playbook, right? Everybody come under one banner, right? But we see, even as they do it today, they talk about diversity, right? Which real diversity would be what? To uphold and maintain diverse cultures. Not have everybody come under one culture and cast theirs aside. So it's kind of a sleight of hand. They'll say, yeah, we're about diversity. Really, their idea of diversity is be our model, right? Look like, dress like, what we consider customary. So it's really their intention in the end. And you're weird if you don't conform. So it says, once again, 41, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom, all should be one people. 42, everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. So they're getting on board with what? Doing these things that are against our custom, against what our forefathers were supposed to do. 44, for the king had sent letters by messengers into Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days. 46, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people. 47, set up altars and groves, chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. So now, sacrificing swine's flesh and other unclean beasts, right? All these things being unseemly for what the priests are supposed to be doing, and what the people are supposed to be doing, bringing things to the priests that are at the temple, even at the entrance where the altar burnt offering is. 48, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised. It's going into now physically uncircumcised, which of course eventually is going to lead to them being spiritually uncircumcised because they're following the customs of the Greeks. So their heart is uncircumcised. And make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. Remember, throughout history and current events, Esau has 6 main offenses on it. It's like their calling card anywhere they go: rape, theft, murder, deception, oppression, profanity. Anytime you see them in action, you'll see those 6 things in action, one way or another. And they're going to try to get the people that they take over, that they're trying to influence, or take whatever resource they have, get them doing that too, and saying, "See what? This is just a human condition. This is how people are." But it's like, no, this is how you are in particular. You want everybody to be just like you. 49, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. 50, whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, he should die. Right? So enforcing that you follow this foul custom. 51, in the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. So overtly pushing his wickedness, forcing the people to do so, wherever they were at. 52, and many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that saw, so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor or for help, safety. Right? So for the Israelites that still wanted to keep the righteous customs, knowing that what? They had these Greeks staring them down, making sure they were following these wicked customs. To follow righteousness, they had to do it secretly, privately. Otherwise, they would get in trouble. As we're going to see, it's going to get worse. It says in 54, so now we're going into, where this even came from, why we even remember this rededicating of the altar, right? We have to understand this backstory we're reading. 54, now on the 15th day of the month, Keslu, which is the 9th month, you'll see it spelled Kislev in other places, but it's referring to the same 9th month. In the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar and built idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side. See, you do the history on what they did here. Just like it says, idol altars. They set up an idol on top of our altar burnt offering. Because clear that altar burnt offering is supposed to be like a bridge between the people and the priest being the conduit. We will offer up different righteous sacrifices unto the Most High as like a means of what? Showing communion with God, showing that we wanted expiation for our sins or forgiveness for our sins, right? That was, physically speaking, a very important object that we will go to, where all our offerings will be brought. And the priest being the, serving as the function of the Most High on earth, they'd be the ones to carry out the sacrifice for whatever the people brought. And even the priests themselves offering to it too. So Greeks had to take this very important cultural piece of our nation and flip it on its head and defile it, right? Because that would cut us off from our God and that protection, cut us off from our customs so we could be more like them. It says in 55, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. When they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. So they even did book burnings, right? Our scrolls that had the law. 57, and wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Right? So overtly forcing you to follow their customs. We see a form of that happening now where they'll say one thing, oh yeah, First Amendment, freedom of religion, right? But if you don't embrace the Greco-Roman custom, if you don't embrace the homophobia, the transphobia, right? If you don't thumbs that up, if you don't practice that or support that or condone that, we'll take things from you, right? We'll take your job, take your sponsorship, ostracize you, right? Amongst your peers, right? We'll punish you that way. We see that happening now. And they push that more and more and more to where you can see it now, what's next on the list. I mean, it's already lined up, but we shouldn't be surprised in 10 years, hell, even 5 years, right? Since we're getting close to 2020, we don't know when Christ is going to come back, but I'm just saying in a scenario where we're here a bit longer than we like, it shouldn't be a surprise that the same way, someone getting labeled transphobic is like a thing, it wasn't a thing, say 5-10 years ago like that. Don't be surprised when they label you zoophobic or pedophobic, right? Where you're the weird one, the odd one out, and you were trying to tell a man and a minor, who are you to say who they can and can't love? Who are you to say that he can't or she can't love their pet like that? You must be zoophobic. You must be, beastophobic, whatever name they got, however they say it that way. Or you're pedophobic, right? So, now, people who are accepting of the homosexuality and the transgender, they'll say, oh, no. I draw the line when it comes to kids. I draw the line when it comes, to animals. It's like, all right, you say that now, but give it time, right? As the next generation comes up, you see more examples of that and more people being punished, right, who speak against it. Let's see if you sing that same tune. If people were saying we wouldn't be talking the way we are now about homosexuality and transgender and things like that. So by reading this history, by knowing who our enemy is, and knowing who Esau is, and what the scriptures tell us, which is they are the vine of Sodom and Gomorrah, it shouldn't be surprised they push these things more and more and more, because it was always in them. And here we are today. Going into the future, they say just look to the past. If we look to the past of Esau when he was in Greece and Rome, we can see the future culturally of where this country is going and the other Edomite countries in Europe. Let's continue on. It says, 58, thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month to as many as were found in the cities. Meaning those that were trying to do the right thing but on the low. 59, now the 25th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. So you had women that still, just like we read about people keeping the law, still trying to keep it, that were still circumcising their boys, right? Like it says in Leviticus. So they were even putting them to death. They didn't care. They didn't spare. We don't care if you're a man, a woman, old or young, right? Like it says in the curse. 51, and they hanged the infants about their necks, even the infants, and rifled their houses and slew them that had circumcised them. So you even doing a circumcision, now you're being put to death. Now word's getting out. So other folks who are like-minded, now they're may be thinking twice or how to go about doing it if they still want to do it. 62, howbeit many Israel were fully resolved and confirmed themselves not to eat any unclean things. So the Most High preserved a remnant, right? He always does. Even in these times, you still have a remnant of Israel, right? That won't bend, that won't fold. That'll, like it says in Ezekiel, right? They'll sigh and cry for all the abominations done in the midst thereof, right? And you had them here, and we see that they're being remembered here. And our hope is that if we stay the course, for those of us that do stay the course, we'll be remembered as well, right? Like always, I make the joke. It's like from like the 70s up until now, it's like we're kind of like Acts 29, Acts 30, Acts 31, Acts 32, if there were such a thing. We pretty much just pick up where the apostles left off in Acts, right? In these last days.
I was just going to say how Amalek, the Jewish people, the people that would say were Jews, they stopped the movie, the Maccabees, from coming out, because can you imagine what they would have to show? They would have to show how horrible people the Greeks were. And the descendants of the Greeks, even though they would try to play like they were us, they would have to show that the Greeks were cutting out, doing the same thing they did to us during slavery. So people might have picked up like, wait a minute, these are those same people.
Right. Who was gonna do it? Was this Mel Gibson or somebody else?
I think it might have been Mel Gibson.
Yeah,
Well, now that Tyler Perry has his studio, we should try to drop him some subliminal things. Like, yo, let's try to get this movie going.
Right. Come. I saw that thing they did. It was like a big celebration. I think they had, was it Will and Jada were down there and they were getting like the big ovation. I think I saw it on the his YouTube. He's like a YouTube channel where he does like different stuff. Will Smith.
A lot of people were there, though. Like every so-called name in Hollywood was there.
Yes, indeed. That'll be if Mel does go all the way. I mean, like I said, if that had to be his own money, he'll probably say, "Okay, this is my last hoorah, and I'm out because I don't care about you guys anymore anyway." Because he already caught a lot of flack from them for Passion of Christ. That was still, Jim Caviezel, Caesar Borgia. So it says in 63, wherefore they chose rather to die that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So they died. And there was very great wrath upon Israel. We see their remembrances here, them being mentioned. So sometimes, we might be mentioned even by name, those of us that did the right thing, or like this. So regardless what direction the world's going in, what the heathen are doing, just always remember, you will have a name if you stand for righteousness. You will be remembered. Even if you find physical death because of you leaning towards righteousness, you will be remembered. You won't be forgotten about, and Christ will come through for you. So now we're in chapter 2, verse 1. So now we have the situation. So now we have the response to the situation, right? About some particular folks, righteous folks, right? That are going to make a stand against this horrible thing that's happened in Israel. It says, in those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Jorib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. So verse 1, you don't have to get it, like I said, just for time's sake. But you can just write down 1 Chronicles, 24th chapter. because you have records here going into the descendants of the sons of Aaron. In particular, two of his four sons, because we know the two elder sons, they had a short run, right? Since they wanted to offer that strange fire inside of the holy place, right? So the Most High just established Aaron through his two younger sons, Eleazar and Ithamar. You look at that lineage, you have this Joarib, he comes down from one of those sons. So you just write down First Chronicles 24, and it looks like it's verse 7. Yeah. Verse 1 on down, if you're interested. But that's the key verse that you want. You'll see Jehoiarib mentioned. That's the particular branch that they come out of as far as their lineage, showing that they were of the sons of Aaron. They came from that priestly family, that priestly line, right? Which is kind of funny. It's just like this do as I say, not as I do thing, where what they push in the world is, it doesn't matter what color you are, what family you come from, right? We'll all just, mingle ourselves together, right? Like you were saying earlier, New World Order, right? The whole Babylon confusion, mixing of different nationalities. But now, if they really believe that, why is it that the elite, even here in America, let alone over there in Europe, why do they still have these royal families? Where they say, we can only marry certain people into our family. But they tell you that what? Oh, nationality doesn't matter. So they tell you one thing, but what they actually believe, what they actually do, is something totally different. And you bring it here to America, they tell you, oh yeah, we just marry, based on love. We look past skin color, this, that, and the third. But that's where you get the expression, they call them dollar princes, dollar princesses, to where you see senators, politicians marrying wealthy Fortune 5, Fortune 100 companies, right? The heirs of those particular companies, right? And you do a little bit more digging, you even find there's even connections to European royalty to most, if not all, the presidents. Even Barack Obama, who you would say, oh, I thought he was, the first black president. Or who's the one that's married to Harry? Right. You go into her background, she's actually got, she's tied to English royalty too, just like him. I think they even share an ancestor. So these are just sleight of hand tricks where they got you look on the outside and go, oh, they're dark skinned, so yeah, we're in a new time. But they haven't changed the rules. They just make you think they did. But it's funny because everything they're doing is just a counterfeit to what the Most High has set up for us, as far as what we teach, the importance of nationality, the importance of marrying into the 12 tribes, the importance of having an inheritance, right, to hand down to your sons and daughters that come after you. But culturally, they'll push it out here as though that's not important. And, just share everything. Yet the elite, they're all about owning everything. But they'll try to have you culturally shy away from wanting to own anything. Even, the last thing to give up, which is like you were talking about, Kansamak, your information, right? Or your intellectual property. They'll say, just share that or give that away. Right? We willingly do it. So look at what the powers that be do. That's pretty much what I'm saying. And then listen to what they say and go, all right, I see what you're really about. So yeah, First Chronicles 24 and 7. Let's continue on now. So let's go on in First Maccabees 2 and 2. And he had 5 sons. Johanan called Kettis, Simon called Thasai, Judas, who was called Maccabeus, right? They're all they all became referred to as the Maccabees since Judas was kind of the more prominent of the 5 sons, even though 2 of his brothers had shined too. But that was more so his particular surname, Maccabeus, or his, watchword or his calling card. He was known as Maccabeus. And it says in verse 5, Eleazar called Avaran, and Jonathan, whose surname was Apis. So you have 5 sons, and 3 of them have a name in particular. As you read throughout the Maccabees, you'll see Judas, what he'll do, and then we'll also read about Simon and Jonathan in particular, what they'll do. So reading on, 6, when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, "Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people? And the holy city dwell there when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers." So this is a horrible thing for him to see, being an older man, right? So the worst thing where if you lay a certain groundwork down, right? Certain things for your children to inherit, and you just see it just go up in flames, go up in smoke, right? It's almost like, man, I got unfinished business. I got to make sure that the things stay stay good or stay well for those that come after me. Verse 8, her temples become a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets, her young men with the sword of the enemy. Right? Because remember, I know you see the her prefix there, the her pronoun. When we spoke, we gave things beyond men and women gender, right? It's just like women bear their children. It was said that places like regions, cities, countries, they bore their inhabitants. That's why you'll see countries, even to this day, referred to as she or her, right? Like Esau over there in Asia, they'll say, Mother Russia, right? So you'll see that as part of the language, as far as being referred to as her, as far as the land. In cities being referred to as a her too. Verse 10, what nation not got a part of her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? So just showing you that what every nation has pretty much has in captivity. And every nation, as a judgment, will themselves go into captivity, right? Like was revealed by Jeremiah. He said, every one of them, right? It says in verse 11, all her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman, she has become a bond slave, right? So no longer Sarah, but now Hagar, right? As we see Paul using that particular history metaphorically, especially in Galatians, right? The 4th chapter. It says, verse 12, and behold, our sanctuary, our beauty and our glory is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. 13, to what end, therefore, shall we live any longer? Then Mattathias and his sons rent their clothes and put on sackcloth and mourn very sore for this horrible tragedy. 15, in the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city, Modin, to make them sacrifice. Remember, they were doing this every city. We read in the previous chapter. So Modin is a city where these particular sons of Aaron reside, right? So let's see what comes up next. See, I'm not sure the brothers. Reading ahead. I'm seeing some smiles in the audience, like they know what's coming next. Like you might hear a Western or an adventure movie or an action movie. You came to the wrong city because now it's on. It says in 16, and when many of Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together. Answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias on this wise, thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. Now therefore come thou first, and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen had done, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends. And thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards. Right? You gotta go for the head, right? Go for the shepherd, right? And if you can get the shepherd on your side, they can lead the sheep. So they're taking note of Mattathias and his authority there in that city. So they said, you know what, we can get him. This will make it a lot easier, right? 19. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice. To all the nations that are under the king's dominion, obey him, and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments. Yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words, to go from our religion, neither on the right hand or the left. So he put it out there, plain as day, right? Something that clearly was against their wishes, but he let it be known. He's setting the mold there, at least for them there that are enmolded in this particular city. This kind of reminds me of, I know Khan Samat likes this verse as he put it here on the poster. Joshua 24 and 15, where Joshua makes a similar declaration as they go about establishing Canaan for themselves, right? Because the Canaanites were wicked, and that the Most High gave it to us because of their wickedness. About saying, as for him and his house, that they will choose to serve the Lord. Mattathias is a similar regard here. So if you want, for verse 20, since he's talking about him and what him and his sons are going to do, you could link that with Joshua 24:15. You just write it down. Joshua 24:15. So we've been talking about in the past classes about the importance of us being men and women of Israel, right? Us being the true gods, right, in the earth. That we have to be like our forefathers and foremothers were. We have to be mighty in not only in word but in deed, right? What we say and what we do. And now we're seeing an example of what Mattathias, right? An inspiration for Israel then and now, right? He lives on because of this choice that he made. We see how he was mighty in word by what? Setting forth or establishing him and his house, what they're going to do, even in direct opposition to the Greeks who are coming to that city. But now, an opportunity is going to present himself to not only is going to show that he's mighty in word, being it aligned with the Most High, that he's going to be mighty in deed too, as far as exercising and executing that word of God. So he's going to, as they say, practice what he preaches and make sure that others do the same. Because it says here in 23, now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. So after him setting this precedent for people in Modin, here comes a brother sold to do mischief, going to make a sacrifice according to the king's commandment to some idol. So now it's like, okay, he just said that, but look at your man. He's still going there and sacrificing to the idol. Did he hear you? Right? Let's find out if he heard him. If he didn't, he's going to hear him loud and clear pretty soon. 24. Which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled. Neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. So he took care of business right there on the spot. He became judge, jury, and executioner. Right? Which, you know, isn't too far-fetched because he's what? A priest. Right? That was part of their function. So we see he took the matter into his own hands. And now, just by that action, now not only the Greeks, but the people are saying, okay, he's serious. He means business. Right? He's not going to let anybody get away. At least there. Then it says in 25, also the kings who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time. In the altar he pulled down. So once again, mighty not only in word, but in deed. Talk it, but walk it too. Sorry. It's that song I know. Was it the Migos song? Yeah. Do that, but in righteousness. I could doing a remix to that too. There's a lot of brothers do remixes to like the songs, you know. It could be like a righteous song, but then just change the lyrics, you know. For the trap generation, man. Anyway, it says in 26, thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri, the son of Salem. So once again, going back to the history, for verse 26, you can write down Numbers. It is not too long ago. I know you guys are in Deuteronomy now. You guys are reading through Numbers. You guys read this history, right? About Phinehas, who was the son of Eleazar. He was a grandson to Aaron. And now you had a Hebrew in the camp that was doing something they shouldn't have did. And he took matters in his own hands too and carried forth the Most High's judgment, even though it was done by his hands, and slew one of those of Israel doing wickedly. Everybody saw it, everybody acknowledged it. And then we see that he was given an everlasting covenant. It was kind of like it was already through Aaron, but it kind of sealed that covenant with him vehemently standing up for righteousness. That line would continue with Aaron and his sons Eleazar and Ithamar and those that will come after. But yeah, you can just write down Numbers 25. Numbers, the 25th chapter and verse 'The incident is, you can write 6 to 9, but then you read 10 down, it goes into what promise was made to Phinehas and those that would come after. But the actual incident, you just write down 6 to 9. So Numbers 25, 6 to 9, you can link to 1 Maccabees 2 and 26. Let's continue on.
It shows he was blessed for doing that.
Right. Come. So 1 Maccabees 2, right, because in today's time, you know, people look at that and they'll say, you know, oh, you're so full of hate, you know. That's you're pretty extreme, right? Acting like that, saying that, right? Being hardcore for what it is that you believe. But they won't make an issue if you're hardcore for wickedness. First Maccabees chapter 2, 27. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, Whosoever is zealous of the law and maintain a covenant, let him follow me. It's kind of funny because this kind of makes me think of Moses a little bit, right? After the time of the golden calf, right? He said, you know, he say? Who's on the Lord's side? Let me get it real quick. So I misquote. Numbers 32.
Even the scripture that you quoted before, Numbers 25 and 5, says that Moses said unto the judges of Israel, slay everyone his men that were joined under alcohol. So these are righteous judgments of anybody that's going against the Lord.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, what was that verse again? You said Numbers 25 and 5? Okay. Add that. Let's add that also for 26. For 2 and 26. And then also add 25. Okay, good. Lincoln for First Maccabees 2:26. Numbers 25 and 5 also. And also Numbers 25, 6 to 8. That's what we read earlier. But to link also too with 27, about come and follow me, those that want to do right. To link that with Exodus 32 and 26. Right. The golden calf incident. Moses called out, he said, who's on Yahweh's side? Let him come to me. And it says, all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together unto him. He said, everybody here that's celebrating, kill him. Yeah. Sure enough, they did. He said 3,000 men died that day, killed by the Levites. So Levi was joined to the Lord in that day, right? Like the namesake, Loya, which means joined. Just as we see Levi is joined unto the Lord here in the case of Mattathias. So yeah, it's Exodus 32:26. So reading on in First Maccabees 2 and 28. So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there. So this kind of reminds me too a little bit of what David underwent, right? He had to go underground because he knew Saul sought after his life without a just cause, right? He had to, as you might say today, get off the grid, right? Because he knew there were eyes and ears everywhere looking for him, seeking his life. So now they're going a similar fashion, but at least then it was Israel versus Israel, but now we got Israel against these Greeks that are in our land. And, it's their country, so at least they know the country, even though things are about to get a little bit uncomfortable. But either way, they know the land, so they can navigate. So they pretty much are going into, as they would say, guerrilla mode, if you're talking like in a military context. So it says, 30, both they and their children and their because afflictions increase sore upon them. So yeah, this is like I said, a tough deal, especially when you have, the women and children depending upon you and depending upon providing some kind of stability, right? Stability within the society. And now you making this declaration of righteousness, which spiritually is right, but physically is going to put you at a disadvantage at this point. And the risks that go into that, right? So we see they had a clear mind to do it, and while they weren't just going there willy nilly, they know that the Lord was going to have their back, but it's just going to get a little difficult at this point. So this is just what happens at times, even when following the Lord on an individual basis and as a nation. We have to undergo these hardships at times, as they are here. It says in 31, now when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem, in the city of David, a certain men who had broken the king's command, gone down to the secret places in the wilderness, they pursued after them a great number, having overtaken them, they camped against them and met against them on the Sabbath day. So pulling all the tricks out of the hat, right? It said we got to know our enemy, right? We know they like to rest on the Sabbath, right? So let's pick that day to attack them, because we know they'll be reluctant to fight back, right? Makes sense from their perspective, right? From their objective they're trying to achieve. It says in 33, and he said unto them, let that which hitherto suffice, come forth, do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live. So they're saying, look, you guys are out there in the wilderness, we cut you off from, your cities and your provision, right? You can't just hang out there forever. Yeah, you might know the terrain, but you got the place surrounded, we could starve you out. Look, let's make a deal. You're clearly at a disadvantage. Just bend the knee, sacrifice to the idol. It's okay. But it's not okay. 34, but they said, we will do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. Still standing their ground righteously. 35, so then they gave them the battle with all speed. Howbeit, they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid, but said, let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth shall testify us that he put us to death wrongfully. So we have the record here. These brothers and sisters stood for righteousness, even when their lives were on the line, right? Like the scripture says, strive for truth until death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. Even if he doesn't fight for you physically, their souls are preserved. Our hope is that, he fights for us in both fashions. But sometimes it may only be the soul or the spirit, because even in their case, they knew the resurrection was to come anyway, right? Even from the time that happened to the time when Christ makes his second coming, we all have that salvation to look forward to, that ultimate salvation. And for us in righteousness and that are in Israel, the worse they do to us, the heathen, the better resurrection we get, right? It's like a win for us or a win some more. They say, a win-lose. For us, it's a win or win even more, the worse they do. And the worse it'll be for them.
So now, though that was a righteous thing back then, right? Like it says in Romans 15:4, all things were written for our learning. We know you come against us on the Sabbath day, we're going to fight back, do what we have to do in righteousness. Because we're not going to just let you take advantage of us on a holy day and defile the temple, kill all of our men and everybody. So this is, a righteous thing that they did, but it's also showing, as we're going to read on, that they did say, we can't keep doing this. To let us know that, if somebody came against us now, we're not going to just say no, we're not going to fight, we're not going to defend ourselves because it's a holy day.
So, I guess in word, it kind of makes you think too of what Paul wrote in Corinthians about doing well versus doing better. Like they did well, and those that come after that take counsel amongst themselves are going to do even better. Because you might see, it's easy for us to be like, oh, why did they do that? But what they did wasn't wicked. And I also think too about Ezra and Nehemiah, where Ezra, remember when was it Ahasuerus? Was he the king of Persia? I forget what king it was. But he said, we won't need any help on our journey, right? as we were going from the captivity coming back. But then Nehemiah accepted it because Ezra put the proclamation out there like the Lord will, defend us. Whereas Nehemiah said, okay, we'll take the garrison. It wasn't say one was wrong as opposed to the other. Because even with the garrison that was provided by the heathen, Cyrus, their protection was of the Lord through and through either way. In Ezra's case and in Nehemiah's case. I have to pull that scripture. I forget the verse specifically, but I just remember like that history where one leader took the one approach, the leader took the other approach.
So which one do we do?
Use this world is not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away. Because these heathen, they belong to us anyway. They're really our property. Everything's just flipped upside down at this point. So anything they do for us is really helping us.
Now, God was speaking on the issue. If they were to come against us in our temple, if it's on a Sabbath day, do we do nothing or do we fight? Because he said, you fight. You said it's okay to do either or. So which one?
No, back then, they thought the righteous thing to do was not to fight.
Right.
As you read on, because we're going to read on, they did fight back. And this is written for our learning now that
We should fight back.
we should fight back because what advantage is it for us to allow them to destroy us because we're being righteous over much? They'll be destroying the temple. They'll be destroying the people. They might kill our wives and children because we're not fighting back. As opposed to...
I understand what you said, but it seemed like he was saying it's okay to do the other one.
No, he's saying it's not evil what they did
Right.
when they didn't fight back. But as you read on, they realized also that they should fight back. I was just jumping at them. We're going to read on. They do fight back because they're like, yo,
That's
we can't.
Maccabees. That's not the group that got slaughtered. That's Maccabees group.
It's the same group. That
Well,
was,
if it
that was,
was Maccabees would have been there fighting with them. It was the same group. They were separated.
no, it's the same group of people. Everybody was hiding and saying, we're not going to fight on this. We'll read on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's the same group that left originally, but then Maccabees wasn't there when they got slaughtered. Those they were fought back then and there. It wasn't with those kings.
Everybody would have kept it separate.
They were all keeping the Sabbath, but I'm saying when those guys got slaughtered, Maccabees was somewhere else in the mountains. Else he'd have been fighting right there. Those people never got slaughtered. If they was together at that point in time, they had to be separated. Those people.
Yeah, that's why I use the scriptures as far as, you have decisions that clearly righteous versus wicked. But then within righteousness, you have what's better. Like both decisions could be righteous things, but righteous ways of going about things. Which way will be better? Hence, doing well versus doing better. I think that the chapter I'm referring to, Paul was talking about, marriage in particular. He was saying, he that married, do it well. I mean, it's not wicked to get married, otherwise, we'll all die. Because he was talking about those who are able to just be by themselves and be more committed to doing the work. In that chapter, he was saying those that don't marry, that do marry, do well. He says that those that don't marry do even better. Because, they in a sense are married to the Lord. They can devote more of their time towards furthering the truth, the congregation, et cetera, and so forth. He's talking about himself. That he was, just by himself. He didn't take a wife, and, what that meant, the ramifications behind it. So that's why I made that comparison. Doing well versus doing better. So it says, 38, so they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people. Now Mattathias and his friends understood thereof, they mourned for them right sore. One of them said to another, we all do as our brethren had done, fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against them. Neither will we die all as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. So we see them taking counsel amongst themselves and then coming to this wiser solution to this continued threat of them trying to attack them on the Sabbath day and their reasoning behind it, right? And all praises that they came to that conclusion. Had they not, we know we may not be here today. You never know. 42. Then came there to him a company of Assyrians who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. And these Assyrians, they're also Israelites, but there's a particular band of Israelites. You check out the wording of Assyrian. They say this. Some scholars think this may have been a precursor to the Sadducees, which Sadducees, that title, and Assyrian, they had the same root. It's I think in ancient Hebrew it would be like the Tazadakim, something like that. It's pretty much saying like the righteous. Kind of like Pharisees means, it comes from the parash, which means the separated ones. So they call themselves the righteous ones. So it's like a man of Israel that kind of, not say they did a Nazarite vow, but they just were known for being righteous and being about the law and upholding it, etc., and so forth. A different group, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. 43, it says, also all that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them and were a stay unto them. So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger and wicked men in their wrath. The rest fled to the heathen for succor or for help. So they made that righteous stance that the Most High is sending them like-minded men and women, right, who are willing to fight against the Greeks. And now they're getting that support that they need because, you know, even though they may be small, you know, if there's only 10 of us, you know, 20 can do more than 10, 40 can do more than 20, 80 can do more than 40, right? Especially when we're all together in like mind, all following the Lord, the Most High is going to find a way for us, even though we're at a logistical disadvantage physically. So that's what he's doing for them. 45. Then Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars. And what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised, those they circumcised valiantly. So they went out and still circumcised the boys, right, that had the foreskin, right? Because, you know, that's our law. And of course, what that means, ultimately, it means that it represents the foreskin of the heart, ultimately, but they still did that physically, too. They pursued also after the proud men, and the work prospered in their hand. So they had to get the Greeks, and they had to get the sellouts, right? Right, just like anytime we have, you know, even revolts in this part of the world, right, in the Americas, you know, same as it was then. You got the same thing now. You got those that are, you know, for the freedom, for the people. You got those that are going to go and run and tell massa, right? Whether it was here, the Caribbean, Central America, South America, right? Where we were brought to. You know, you had the same dynamic then too. That same dynamic back then. You know, those that were on board and those that were sellouts. It says 48. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles and out of the hand of kings, neither suffered they the sinner to triumph. And when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength in the time of destruction, in the wrath of indignation. Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. I guess you could say that. You said the zealots, right? For the group that would become the zealots, you know, could possibly have had an inspiration around this time too. It took a root, you know, that kind of came fully formed by the time of Christ, since they weren't too far apart. 51, call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time, so shall you receive great honor in an everlasting name. Right? So he's putting it out there as far as what this fight is really about. Right? We had another crossroads similar to those who came before us. Just as they fought for the right thing, for righteousness, it's time for us to do the same. Right? And this is the reward that we get for doing so. Right? Our fight isn't in vain. 52. So now he's motivating them through righteous examples from our past. Like you quoted earlier, Romans 15:4, right? It says, was not Abraham found faithful in temptation? And it was imputed unto him for righteousness, right? As far as what? Most High told him to give up his firstborn, right? The son he thought he would never have with Sarah. A more carnally minded man might say, oh my God, I was barren with my wife all this time. You give me a son. Now you tell me to give him up. No, they may get covetous of his own son, not want to give him up like that. 53, Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment and was made Lord of Egypt, right? We saw the trials and tribulations that Joseph went through for doing the right thing, right? He knew it was her word over his, so he did time for, like I said, doing the right thing. And they believed her. It says in 54, Phinehas, our father, in being zealous and fervent, we already referred to that verse in Numbers, for being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. So he would uphold that everlasting covenant going forward for generations, right? From Aaron to Eleazar, now to him. 55, Jesus, remember Jesus is just Joshua or Yahushua, just from the Greek. Jesus, for fulfilling the word, was made a judge in Israel. This Jesus being the Joshua, son of Nun, right? And it says in 56, Caleb, for bearing witness before the congregation, received the heritage of the land, right? Remember, it was only him and Joshua that said or gave a righteous report after spying out the land, right? They said, we can take them. The Most High is with us. Even though they may be physically taller and stronger, we got the Most High on our side. We can beat them. Whereas the other spies didn't say that. These are all righteous examples he's bringing to their remembrance, where if we have a mind to, we will go back into those scriptures and read those stories again, right? Just as a good practice to be familiar with them, if we're not already. 57, David, for being merciful, possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom, right? Many occasions where King Saul came against David wrongfully, right? Came against his brother who hadn't wronged him, delivered him into David's hands, yet David showed mercy. Even though those men that were with David said, look, we got him. He's asleep. We got him surrounded. We can take him out. And David consistently would tell them, no, do not put your hand on the Lord's anointed, right? The Most High anointed him to be king. Because, what's implied there, the hope is that what? Saul may repent, may stop, may cease, which he did on different occasions, but the evil spirit will come back. He would go back. It was like you would see those times when it was revealed, I could have got you, but I didn't, right? What was it when they were talking to each other over that long distance, yelling back and forth, and he showed them the evidence, like, we had you, we could have killed you, but we didn't. And then Saul would, cry and say, oh, alas, my son David, right? Why am I coming at you like this? Like he would have that moment of truth. Then the evil spirit would come back and he would start chasing them again. It's kind of like, back and forth, back and forth. But either way, David was shown mercy of the Lord for his transgression, as he showed Saul mercy for his transgression against him. So it comes around full circle. We can see that in their story. 58, Elias, for being zealous and fervent for the law, was taken up into heaven. Read about Elijah in the Kings. I spelled Elias here from the Greek. What was he saying? Lord, I have been zealous for you. They have killed all the prophets, right? During the time, was it Ahab and Jezebel? They have killed all the prophets. I'm the only one left. right? Have you forgotten about me? And the Lord had to show him, hold on. I got 1,000 men over here. Was it, I think 5,000 men over here that haven't bowed to Baal. So, don't be deceived by your eyes. Which clear in this situation, it would appear that way. Like, man, I'm all alone. I'm out here on the run, kind of like how they are. Kind of like how David was, in his situation. It's one thing to read it, but to be in it, you start having those. It's easy to have those thoughts or those doubts, like, oh man, is this gonna be it for me? I'm gonna stand by you, Lord, but is this the end you want me to see? You want me to die like this?
But that's one of those moments where that's another scripture. I mean, all scripture is written for profit and learning and all that stuff, but especially like that, it's showing us like we might not see the fruit of your labor. Even like the internet is giving us hope that there's 7,000 men out there. Like if y'all, I don't know if you'll notice, this movement is growing on a high level. So many people are waking up on different levels. Even communities that aren't really there yet are coming across. I'm listening to the Nation of Islam. I'm like, yo, is this guy in the Baptist church? What are they? Yeah, and Jesus said, and the Lord scriptures left and right. I'm like, yo, it's like everything's like coming to a head, and more people are coming into the truth, like right in front of our face. But if you keep your ear to the street and see what's going on, and you see a lot of comments from fellow Israelites talking about, yo, everybody's waking up because everybody's seeing the awakening of the nation. And then we see all the prophecies happening to all the things around us, around the world. I could feel where Elijah was coming from. Like, at one time you're like, dang, we killed all the prophets, just said it. But then when you start seeing things happening around you, like, yo, it's coming to a head.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, people are sleeping. There's so much chaos going on in every other country. Just you go into so much going on. I mean, he didn't see what we're seeing now, but
I definitely I know what you mean as far as like watching like Judah in the world. I know we had this conversation one of the holy days in the past as far as like you kind of seeing what's going on, like worldly Judah. It's like worldly Judah against everybody, even the other tribes, right? It's like where the pro black movement is going, and all different names that it has, from the ADOS to I think Paul Anderson has his own version of it, like a version of it, but it's like we're laughing because we're like, you're getting a step closer to what the 12 tribe side has been saying who you are,
And all those separate movements are falling apart because now people are starting to look at them like, what are you doing? This is, and you have a whole bunch of Israelite splinters infiltrating those movements, and
right.
It's just a mess out there, but everything is coming to full focus.
Because worldly Judah, they got it out against Ham, which is like, we're like, yay! Then it's like, yeah, and the hell with you Caribbeans too. And it's like, but in some cases they are right because you got Caribbean coons too, and it's like it's a little convoluted.
Like there's no ADOS or FBA coons.
I think they acknowledge them too.
Nah, they say they do, but that's another story.
Oh no, like you said, it's coming to a head. It's like the wheat and the chaff growing up together. There are times gonna come where we just hope and pray. We don't go back out there. We're part of the wheat that's taken up, and not the chaff that's just thrown into the fire.
Now, even though the tribes clearly, the north and the south was clearly split at this point in time, because he mentioned all those prophets, and they'd already split at this time, but they didn't come to the Americas yet, right? They were still all over there in the land of Israel.
The northern tribes, they left already.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. If you go on to Zondervan and look up, I think I go to, I think, to prophet. They have like a nice little chart where it shows like prophets and what kings they prophesied towards. It tells you that the 722 BC is when the northern tribes officially left that region after they came out of the Assyrian captivity.
So this holiday we celebrating is really just for the Southern.
It's for all Israel.
But this was just the South that was doing all this fighting.
Yeah, I mean, mostly, yeah. But we're still supposed to keep it. I mean, it's just like any other holy day. Like if we weren't there, we're still supposed to keep it now because we know that we're Israel. You know, just like Christ. Think about all the northern tribes Christ didn't even get to see face to face. But he said, "Whether I go, you cannot come." That's why they said, "Will he go to disperse among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles?" He was talking about Southern Kingdom who had already been scattered throughout Asia Minor, right? The Roman Empire. He was also talking about the Hebrews that were already in the Americas too. That his spirit would go out to them too at a certain point, at a certain junction.
You say he was talking about the Southern Kingdom and the Northern Kingdom that was scattered? I mean, the Southern Kingdom that was scattered and the Northern Kingdom?
Yeah. Because at that time, we were looking at him as like, it was like three different groups. You could group the uncircumcised together. They might have called them all together uncircumcision, but they were still Israel. So they had to receive Christ or receive the warning from Christ eventually anyway. Even though they were all the way over here, it doesn't matter how far you are.
You don't believe he saw these people face to face?
There's a lot of people Christ didn't see face to face, but still, he's Christ, so he's responsible for everything anyway.
He said that he was going to see him.
So he knows us, even though he may have not saw us when he was doing his ministry for those 3 years. He knows because he's the one that created the heavens and the earth through the Most High.
But he told them he was going somewhere, that he must have went to see him.
Well, Christ can in more ways than what we might understand. He can go somewhere physically, he can also go somewhere spiritually. Sometimes he didn't clarify. It was up to us to go and learn what that means. He would say certain things. He would say, "Where I go, hither you cannot come." We had to be spiritually minded to know what he meant.
He could have been talking about physically going. He could have been talking.
That scripture you're talking about, he was telling them where he's going, which is back to the Father can't come. But the disciples asked him, what is he talking about? Is he going to the tribes to teach the ones that are in darkness?
Oh, they thought he was going.
That's what they asked him, right? But what he was telling them, where he's going, that they can't even come where he's going.
Right.
So don't follow. You can't follow me there.
Right.
What are you talking about? Are you talking about going to the 10 tribes out there?
Right.
Because they knew that they were Israelites as well. So they were asking him that. But what he was saying to them, where he's going, they can't come.
He was going to see his father. But what about the other remark that he made when he told him that he got another? He had another what?
Sheep that's not of his fold.
Of his fold, right? He was talking of his fold, so he was talking about going to see the.
He was saying he has others, which are the tribes. So that's why he directed Peter.
Right.
Paul had a spirit where he was gathering those tribes.
All right, so he may have actually physically went and saw them other kids. We don't know for sure, man.
Who's he? You're saying Christ?
They said, yeah, sheep of another fold. So he may have physically went and saw those.
We don't read it in scripture. Right. But as far as Christ like manifesting himself in the spirit, I'm sure he's done that many times. It may not be written per se, but that's a speculation on our part.
Or he could have done it physically.
He directed his disciples to do that. So.
Right.
The apostles.
Okay. All right. So
that was kind of the
northern tribes then. You say that?
I'm reading the New Testament.
The tribes say, listen, okay. Because he himself said he was. So since he said
that. Well, maybe he did.
But that's all I'm
Everything
saying.
can't be written in a book that he did. So.
Right. They could have those books, and when the conquistadors came over there, they could have, when they destroyed those people, they could have destroyed their books.
He looking at the Northern Kingdom like they had left already.
In 722.
722 they left.
So that Yahweh shall walk across the Atlantic, right?
Yeah, no.
I didn't have to walk. He walked across the book.
Joke, because the last Sabbath you guys were talking about walking on water.
And again, there's no prophecy that says Yahweh shall do that.
No,
But
but he
Judah,
said,
Benjamin, and
Like,
Levi
it's
weren't the
nice.
only ones in Corinth and Galatia and all that. Right.
Yeah, you remember Anna the prophetess? She should have been over there, but she was in Galilee.
So anything that Yahushua came and do, it was already prophesied that he was gonna come and do it. So there was no way he said he was gonna visit the northern tribe across the Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no prophecy that says that.
we only referencing what he said himself, that he had sheep of another fold.
He didn't say I'm going to the sheep.
Oh, he didn't say, okay.
He said I have them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because Yahushua didn't invent anything. Whatever he did was already written. That's what he was gonna do. So even when the prophets came and prophesied, the prophet would have even say, "Here's what Yahushua is coming to do." Because he said he didn't come to destroy the law or the prophet. He came to fulfill whatever the prophet said that he would be coming and doing. So he would not even go against anything. He would just fulfill exactly what the prophet said.
Whatever the scripture said.
Right.
Right. And on top of that, like we were talking, like you were mentioning, like we're kind of talking about yesterday, as far as saying those are the only things that Christ did. Now we do too much because the scriptures make it very clear that last verse. I think you were alluding to that, Zaquan, the last verse in St. John. There are many other things that Christ said and did, which could be talking about not only things in this world, but even things in the third heaven. He said, which I suppose, if all the things were to be written down, I suppose the whole world could not contain the things that should be written. So with that, we just say, look, I'm just going to speak on what I know, which is written is what Christ did.
Right.
Anything beyond that, I don't know. I don't see it, but I don't know. Maybe you could ask him in the kingdom.
What scripture you're alluding to? John 10 and 16. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. So when you read the whole John the 10th chapter, the voice is coming from us. We're bringing the voice of Yahweh. So, like I heard, we all in here heard the voice of Yahweh, which brought us into the fold. But was he amongst us to bring us like, hey, come into the fold? Because when you read the whole
What's
John
that
10
face?
chapter,
What's that
it
face?
says,
I don't know. That's bad news.
Hey,
let me get you.
What's that mean?
I mean, it depends on how you take that scripture. That scripture, it says other sheep, of this fold, that gotta hear my voice. You can take it that we could be delivering the voice, or he could literally be talking about going to those other sheep and giving them that voice.
Yeah, because the reason I said that, but the last verse in St. John 2 is, I wonder if I gotta ask the brothers, because he might know, but there was a history book. It might have been on the 12 tribes breakdown thing, but it was a history book going into some sort of testimony from, I think it was either Gad or Reuben. And supposedly it was like Christ, I think, had manifested himself to them in like some kind of vision. And it was like written down, I think, by one of the conquistadors talking to him. I think it's in some history book. So it's like stuff like that. It's like, and how often did those kind of things happen? It's like, who knows? We don't read it here, so we won't make a big thing out of it. But as far as Christ manifesting himself in different ways in the spirit, to different tribes, different times, that's personal.
In the spirit, I just want to just write this down and just meditate on this. This is It's in the same book. Read the whole chapter of John, because in John 10:27, it says, "My sheep hear my voice. I know them and they follow me." We're the sheep that heard the voice of Yahushua. Are you clear on that? That the reason why we're here, the Holy Spirit, we're hearing them. This is the voice. We're hearing his voice, and that's why we follow him. So he doesn't physically have to be here for us to hear his voice, and we follow him.
I'm just speaking on the
When.
No.
Right. But that's what.
But the last part of the verse is what? What's the last part of that 16 verse?
It says, "Them also bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd."
There should be what? One fold. If there's another fold, and then the fold was there in Jerusalem, then that's not one fold yet. Right? So if it's there, they're not joined together yet. We get joined together. Right. So if Yahweh says, "I got another fold," so then now he has to go and go, that message has to be brought there.
Right.
And then now, where does that culminate?
Okay, so he was speaking of a future prophecy.
Right. It's culminating now.
All this is future and done.
Yeah, all of the future said, when that now comes to a head, the last days before he comes back, we now become one fold.
Still the
Under
future.
that one voice.
Still the future in 2019.
What's that?
It's still the future right now. It still hasn't been fulfilled.
Yeah, it's not finished. Right.
It's not bad.
It's not finished.
This is Ezekiel 37, right? Dry bones. Got the two sticks.
Yeah, the two sticks.
Right.
It hasn't happened yet.
That's why I said, read on in there, because it's talking about, "And I will give them eternal life." He didn't give them eternal life.
Right.
And it says, "No one shall pluck them out of his." It's just talking about the future coming together.
It wasn't talking about going dry at that point in time.
It's talking about all Israel.
I know at that point in time when he said that, he was talking about future going to see him. That's what you're saying now?
The voice, the spirit, us.
Right.
If you bring it out and you bring somebody into this truth,
Right.
that's Yahweh Shai speaking to them, bringing them into this truth.
Right.
That's what he's talking
But you
about.
had some of the northern tribes there in Jerusalem too. But
You're saying that the northern tribes in Jerusalem that observed Christ went to their other northern tribes.
Why do they have to observe him? Why can't they hear his
Well, they
voice,
heard his voice.
which is from another prophet?
Right. So they went to the northern tribes
They
that
went
had
to-
already left.
Are the northern tribes Israelites?
Yes. The northern tribes are Israelites, right? Judah is the southern tribe.
So the word is going to who? All Israel.
Right. So we trying to figure out how,
You're trying to figure
all
out.
right, I'm trying to figure out how did the word get to the northern tribes
By a prophet.
by a prophet. What prophet is that?
It could be any prophet.
So this is a future prophecy.
It could have been Paul,
He wasn't talking
Barnabas,
about
it could have been Peter, it could have
when
been
you look
Jonas.
at the other fold, like the other fold only has to be like the northern tribe, right? So like what Zaquan was bringing out, Yahweh he was a Capernaum in that area. But he didn't go to Thessalonica, he didn't go to Galatia, he didn't go to those places.
Right.
So that's another fold, that's Israel, that's in a Gentile state of mind, that still got any of that voice. Right? So now he goes and says, "Oh, here's Saul going on, I'm gonna now put the spirit on him." He's gonna go and do what? Bring his voice to those that's in that area throughout Asia Minor. He didn't physically go there. Right? Who went there? Paul went there. With Yahushua, speaking Yahushua's voice to them.
Okay.
Right? So,
Romans 9:2.
And what we're doing right now, we're just carrying on what the disciples were doing, just bringing out the word. So that's what we're doing. We're bringing out the prophecy. Right. So that's pretty much what we are doing right now. That's what you are doing right now.
But it just sounds like he was going at that point in time to visit that other fold physically. That's what it just sounded like.
Northern tribe?
Yeah.
So you assume that though. Because it doesn't
But
say
he
northern,
said-
they don't say northern
But
tribe.
it said fold.
Right, what's fold?
So it could be the scattered Israelites.
Scattered in general, there you go.
Right. Okay.
All right.
So
There
that's
you
why
go.
we don't need other books to coincide with this to bring out more evidence of the scriptures. The scriptures stand alone.
Right.
And that's why
Come.
no other book can match. What is that? 34 to 16? That's
Come.
it.
That's right.
No other book can come
Once
close
it's
to it.
matched,
So
right.
we don't need the Quran to validate
No.
this. They need the Bible to validate the Quran. We don't need the Egyptian Book of the Dead. We don't need even need Josephus. We don't need any of those books to validate the Bible. Because everything is just there.
If anybody come out with a book, whatever it is, history, it has to coincide with this. If it's not
Absolutely.
coincide, that's it.
It's
Exactly. And that the thing I was referring to in that book, I made mention of it because it aligns with this. It wasn't like, oh, if you go in this book, it goes into this other. This is like you'll see certain things in history that will align with the prophecy and kind of like, might jump out at you. Oh, wow, okay. The Most High did say this. So that's why, that finding will have glory to it, that knowledge. I was just thinking of something funny. You were asking, when did they get that word? I'm thinking of the incident with the kids and the Gadites. Remember at DC? They showed a kid with that smirk on his face. But they never showed pictures of the Israelites that were there too teaching. Remember? I said northern tribes they got the word that day. They got the message from some prophets that day. At least those Gadites. Right.
And I quoted strong scriptures, Romans 91.
Yep.
They did get it. They gave it to us.
So let's continue on.
Romans 91 says, Paul is saying, I say the truth in Yahweh I lie not. My conscience or my spirit also bear me witness in the Holy Spirit. So he's letting you know this is Yahweh speaking when Paul is speaking to all the tribes.
And let me read this too. Just to connect, like you said, the prophet and how the prophecy is connected to the testimony of Christ. This is Revelation chapter 19 and verse 10. Revelation chapter 19 and verse 10, it says, and I fell at his feet to worship him. This is John falling to the feet of an angel, showing him a vision. He said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren that had a testimony of Jesus, or Yahushua. Then he says, worship God, for the testimony of Jesus, or Yahushua, is the spirit of prophecy. So it's all connected. So that's a way of seeing Christ or hearing Christ, but it's not Christ. It's the spirit of prophecy coming through a prophet. That's coming in the name of Christ. So it can happen that way too. Okay, so back in First Maccabees, I was trying to do 3 and 4, but usually we have to stop at the 2 chapters because it gets too late. So First Maccabees chapter 2, and we left off, I think, in 58 for Elias. So it says, Elias, for being zealous and fervent for the law, was taken up unto heaven. So read about him in the First and Second Kings, right? Being translated unto the Most High, giving Elisha the mantle to carry on the work of prophecy, right? So once again, Mattathias listing righteous examples to motivate his sons and those that are with him to carry on the good fight since he's an old man, right? He's getting close to giving up the ghost. Then it says in 59, Ananias, Azarias, and Misael believing were saved out of the flame. So real quick, let me ask anybody, who's Ananias, Azarias, and Misael? Who's that talking about? Because we know them by their slave names. Say it. You got one of them. Right. So these are their Hebrew names, right? Right. You guys got it right. So Hananiah, Azariah, and Misael. Those are their Hebrew names. They were given those Babylonian names, kind of like how we have English names now, right? Because our presidents were English, or Spanish names because our presidents were Spanish, or French names because our presidents are French, or Dutch names or Portuguese names, et cetera, because our presidents were that. They were given those names too. So yeah, it's going into them being delivered out of the fiery furnace and to be motivated by that too. It's funny. I always joke with my dad because he's not, Christian. He's not super Christian, but he does read here and there. He always make this joke growing up. He would always say, Shadrach, Meshach, and a big Negro. He always make that joke growing up to learn the truth. I said, yeah, you remember he used to always say that growing up? I don't know if you realize you prophesied, you didn't even know. He was a big Negro. Look. He told us like whatever. Who would have thought Abednego was a big Negro? Oh yeah. Yeah. I can imagine all types of ways they play with his name. So reading on, this is 1 Maccabees 3:60 now. 1 Maccabees 3:60, it says, Daniel, for his innocency, was delivered from the mouth of lions. So remember his righteous example too, right? To where they passed that crazy law, right? That said, no one can pray to any God but our king, right? Because they knew Daniel was consistent, always doing his morning, afternoon, evening prayers. So they said, let's jam. Daniel said, that law's not going to stop me from praying to my God. He kept praying. As soon as they saw him, they said, ha! Got him. Throw him to the lions. He saw the Most High, through the Most High's power, he shut the mouths of the lions. He had the spirit in there, the Elohim, or the angel was in there to shut the mouth of the lions. And then when the king saw that he was still alive after a certain time went by, took him out, threw the guys that accused him in there. It says the lions jumped on them, just like that. They didn't have that same protection that Daniel did. See, the Most High could even humble terrible animals like lions for our sake. He even give us the power under certain circumstances to even take them out with our hands without even weapons. So that's the real power of man that we have that we're just not tapping into because we separate ourselves from the Most High due to our sin. Reading on in verse 61, it says, and thus consider ye throughout all ages that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. So we got to put our trust in the Lord first and foremost. We have to really, truly do like what it says on the money, the dollar bill, and God we trust. We have to truly trust in Yahweh, the true and living God, not the false gods of Babylon the Great, or what they call America. That'll get you nowhere fast. It'll get you somewhere for a little while, and it'll come crashing down in due time. It says 62, fear not then the words of a sinful man, or his glory shall be dung and worms. So saying, don't worry about these Greeks. They're going to be doing this and that and got, physical power behind them in numbers. That's what their glory is going to end up being in anyway. 63, today he shall be lifted up like they are at that time, just like Esau is lifted up now, and the other heathen. And tomorrow he shall not be. So if you're looking for him, he'll be a relic. He'll be extinct. Like he's causing animals to go extinct, he'll be extinct. It says, because he is returned unto his dust, and his thought is come to nothing. He's a memory. He's barely there. 64, wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for it shall Rather, for by it shall ye obtain glory. So he's giving his sons and those that are following them the keys to success, right? Things he's probably told them their whole lives growing up, but now things that he's reaffirming for them even in his old age. I'm an old man. I've seen a lot of things. These things still remain to be true. Make sure you don't forget them. 65, and behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him always, for he shall be a father unto you. Right? So he knows his sons. He knows his sons' different strengths, right? So he knows when it comes to Simon, he's real good when it comes to counsel, right? Dealing with making decisions. Discerning, right? Right from wrong. So he said, let that be the area that he shines in. Then it says in 66, as for Judas Maccabeus, he had been mighty and strong even from his youth up. Let him be your captain and fight the battle of the people. So my son Judas, right? He's skilled when it comes to warfare, right? Combat, might, right? How to take out the enemy, single and multiple attackers. Let him be the captain of the host. Let him fight the battle. So while they will both kind of do each other's role in a sense, because Judas would still counsel, Simon would still fight. But what were they known for? Simon was known for his ability to counsel. Judas was known for his might in battle. So let those gifts that the Most High blessed y'all with be used to protect you and to protect those that you fight for. 67, take also unto you all those that observe the law and avenge ye the wrong of your people. Recompense fully the heathen and take heed to the commandments of the law. So sound, righteous, sturdy words from a righteous man at his physical end, but clearly he lives on, as he lives on right now. It says, so he blessed them and was gathered unto his father. So he gave the ghost. He died in the 146th year, and his sons buried him in the sepulchres of his fathers at Modin. All Israel made great lamentation for him. So, we don't know when Christ is going to come back, but if we get to old age before he does, our hope and prayer should be that we be in a mind state like this, that he's in, right? We don't want to be, on our deathbed and we're like, oh, maybe I had it all wrong. Maybe the Christians were right. Maybe Muhammad was the way. You don't want to be asking those questions. At that point, it's like, don't get all the way to the finish line and be like, is this really the truth? I don't know. Like, what a waste, right? So we'll stop here. Well, I was trying to get through all four, but definitely read those throughout the week, chapter 3 and 4. What I'll do is I'll just read the section in 4 that goes into what we're keeping and what time we keep it. There's a couple battles, some conflicts that the Most High delivers us from. All in all, what ends up happening is that we're able to take the temple back and the city of David back, which the heathen, the Greeks, profaned, and then take the altar that was defiled. We got to clean it up and then set up a new altar with new stones, since the other ones were defiled with unclean stuff. And then we, like the Holy Day says, we rededicated the altar. That's the full name of the Holy Day. It's called the Feast of the Rededication of the Altar. So this is First Maccabees. I'm gonna jump. I'm just going to read the key part. I'm going to start from 52. First Maccabees 4 and 52, it says, now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 140th year, they rose up betimes or early in the morning, 53, and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. So see, they reset up the altar of burnt offering. So that's what's being dedicated during this Hanukkah or dedication. 54, look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it, which was today. And even in that was it dedicated with songs and citherns and harps and cymbals. So they defiled it on that day when you read, and then we rededicated it on that same day. I think it was like 2 years later. Then it says in 55, And all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the power of heaven that given them good success. So they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days and offered burnt offerings with gladness and sacrifice of deliverance and praise. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed and hanged doors upon them. Thus there was great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that in the day's dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Casla, with mirth and gladness. So 52 to 59, the first Maccabees 4, you can write down. But then also, just to go into why they kept days, jump to second Maccabees 10, which has the same history, but it's kind of like reading in Kings versus Chronicles. You'll have the same history, which is you might have a detail in Chronicles that's not in Kings and vice versa. So let's add on to our understanding. So this is second Maccabees, chapter 10. I'll start from 1. Second Maccabees 10 and 1, it reads, Now Maccabeus and his company, the Lord guiding them, recovered the temple and the city, with the altars which the heathen had built in the open street, and also the chapels they pulled down. 3. And having cleansed the temple, they made another altar. Striking stones, they took fire out of them, like a flint, and you scratch a flint together, start a fire, and offered a sacrifice after 2 years, and set forth incense and lights and showbread. And when that was done, they fell flat down and besought the Lord that they might come no more into such troubles, but if they sinned any more against him, that he, Most High himself, would chasten them with mercy, that they might not be delivered to the blasphemous and barbarous nations. Now upon the same day that the strangers profaned the temple, on the very same day it was cleansed again, even in the 25th day of the same month, which is Casla. So here's what I was getting into. 6. And they kept 8 days with gladness, as in the Feast of Tabernacles, remembering that not long afore they had held the Feast of Tabernacles, when as they wandered in the mountains in dens like beasts, right? Because remember, they went underground, waging that guerrilla warfare against the Greeks who had the advantage, right? See, that's where they get the 8 days from. Same way that Tabernacles goes 8 days. This is why dedication goes 8 days. It says in 7, therefore they bear branches and fair bows and palms also, and sing psalms unto him, and had given them good success in cleansing his place. They were ordained also by the common statute and decree that every year those days should be kept of the whole nation of the Jews. So everybody, all the tribes. Wink, wink. And this was the end of Antiochus called Epiphany. So that's the 4th, and goes into the 5th, and the trouble he would cause him and Lysias as you read down. But mainly just wanted 1 to 8. So 2 Maccabees 10, 1 to 8, to kind of cut to the chase. So yeah. So that's the what, the when, and the why. We keep the feast of dedication. So definitely read chapters 3 and 4. Throughout the week. Remember too, next week, this time Thursday will be the closing. But remember, the Wednesday of next week, we're gonna have the 10th new moon. So we're gonna have that, and then feast dedication closing, and then Friday night the Sabbath. So but remember, this Sabbath is cool. We can cook on this Sabbath because it's the feast week. But next Sabbath, the feast will be over, so don't cook next Sabbath.
And it's tricky because Wednesday you can cook, Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I get caught out there.
Right. Still in the festive spirit. And remember, during this time, let me give you guys this verse too. This verse has helped me. Romans 12 and 21, because I know you're probably getting it at the job, families, friends, associates, people seeing you, oh, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. Okay, well, gotta go. Merry Christmas. So you got a response. You say, oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate the sentiment. Happy Hanukkah to you. Happy Hanukkah. Maybe we can spark a conversation, right? Yeah, I keep a Hanukkah. Yeah, Christ kept Hanukkah. If they're a Christian, you take them to John 10:22. Because, people are ignorant, but they're trying to say something nice as far as they're concerned. So acknowledge them being nice, but we having knowledge know that being nice doesn't mean righteous. See, Esau's a master of being the nice guy, but being wicked as hell. And making people think that, oh, because you're nice, you're righteous. What's the scripture say? Evil communication corrupt good manners, right? So Esau's they mastered the talking calmly and having good manners, and that being what people think of as, oh, they're a good person, right? But then they, all types of foul stuff coming out their mouth, talking about incest and wickedness and everything else. So,
Just one thing, like when I was dealing with people, they were telling this Amalekite, Merry Christmas, throwing a dig at him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going, Happy Hanukkah. So when they say Merry Christmas to me, because they turned off like, oh, that's a Jewish nonsense. When they say it to me, I say Happy Feast of Dedication. So they go, Feast of Dedication? I say, yeah. When you read St. John, the 10th chapter, Christ skipped the Feast of Dedication.
Mm-hmm.
So that opens them up like, really? I said, yeah, so we have to be followers of Christ. And then I hit them with, because dedication, Hanukkah is Hebrew for dedication. I said, so now you should be keeping the Feast of Dedication instead of telling me Merry Christmas. Since Christ, because these are all so-called Christians. I said, since Christ kept the Feast of Dedication, that's how I hit them with dedication. I don't even say Hanukkah. Instantly they're like thinking Hanukkah is somewhere in some Talmud. No,
you're Jewish.
Feast of Dedication.
Oh.
You read about Christ keeping a feast of dedication. Yeah, it's true. So why aren't you doing it?
Where are your little curls at? Hanukkah, where you?
Yeah, it's the English.
That's to what?
Cut them with the English.
Do I interchange it? Yeah. I mean, if I get that far, I'll just show them John. I'll mention John. I'll say dedication and explain.
I don't even say Hanukkah. I mean, unless they're interested in teaching. Mm-hmm. Like the 7-day Adventist today told me, listen, you can't take the Bible literal. I said, so why are you keeping the Sabbath? Don't do that literal. Because she does the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm showing her the Feast of Dedication, you can't take the Bible literal.
A lot of these so-called Christians. It's crazy because some of them are like really resistant, like they're speaking out against the so-called Jews and catching flack for it. Like the ones who are like deal with Jesus came to everybody, blah blah blah, but they'll speak against certain laws. Like these Christians, so-called Christian pastors, still talking about homosexuality is wrong and this, that, and that. So it's wrong, and they say that fundamentalist Christians. They say Christian Zionists. They call them Christian Zionists. See, Zionism is taking over a lot of Christian denominations. It's definitely interesting to watch that civil war going on too. Yet and still, they'll say Christ came for everybody. So it's like, yeah, you're right on one thing, but then you're still wrong in this area. It's like we're talking about with the Judah that's in the world that's so-called pro-black. They're getting a step closer to the 12 tribe sign, but still not there.
And most people, they just don't understand the purpose of the law. That's why they don't keep the law, or they say the law is going to wait.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be, one of the things that we got to focus on. teach people why the laws are there.
I mean, I believe clearly, like St. John 3:19 to 21, their deeds are evil why they don't want to do the law. That's it in a nutshell. They don't want to stop Christmas. They don't want to stop eating pork. They don't want to stop hanging out on Friday night. They don't want to stop these things. So the law is like the antichrist to them. That's why that's like a prophetic scripture. They don't want to come into the light because then their deeds will be reproved like that. I can't do this again. And I try to show people it's not a burden.
Right.
You can still live comfortably.
The law is not there to restrict people or make your life difficult. As a matter of fact, the law make you functional.
Have some moral.
Yeah, I mean, a car has a manual, and if you misuse it, you don't do the service, or you put the wrong oil in it, it'll mess up.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with us. If we don't follow the law, that's why we jack up. That's our manual. That's how we should go. And most people think the law is just something you just keep, doing some things that you have no business doing. That's why we so dysfunctional, because we don't understand the law is there for our benefit, not to hinder us from. And that's why if we don't follow it correctly, we mess up. We jack up.
This is the verse I wanted to read. Romans chapter 12 and 21. Where it says very simply, be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. So that just being a motivator as far as when they come, like you said, with their stuff, you bring them into what you're dealing with. You say, oh, okay. Oh, you gave me a card. Oh, okay. Well, check this out. I'm celebrating the feast of dedication. Would you like to know more? And if they do, all right. And I referred to the verse earlier. This is 1 Corinthians. I always get it mixed. Is it 14? I think it's 14. Or is it 15? Give me 1 second. Be not deceived.
Like the fish, right? They know not to get out of the water. They stay in the water. The birds, they would never just go in the water because they know they belong in the air. That's just messed up. Right, the ox knows his own.
There it is. 1 Corinthians 15 and 33. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and 33, it says, be not deceived, evil communications corrupt good manners. So yeah, that's Esau. Everybody likes to try to follow the heathen. They'll be like, oh, hey, how you doing? This and that. Yeah, let me show you this. Here's the way that you cook the spam. You want to cook the spam, over easy, okay? Add a little seasoning. It's like, it'd be nice. What you're saying is straight evil, That's a simple thing, but it's like people hang on that thing so heavy. Like you saying something with force and conviction and it's right, and in Esau is just like, it was same-sex marriage. I accept that. And everyone looks at that person like, oh, he's justified. You're a bully. You get called a bully. What were you about to say?
I was just saying, then you got another segment of people. They see me rushing out like, yo, breaking up, the sun's gonna go down, and I gotta get to the holy day. And you have people like, yo, you gotta hurry up, son, don't let them hold you up here, go down, so they picking their righteous heart out by, let me help you back up, get out of there now, come on, no, he can't do that. Look at, oh my God, I got the people on my job, a segment of them always making sure, make sure you take your holy days. I'm like, yeah, but what about you? What about you? need to be doing
You gotta be thinking about my mom and my aunt. Anytime we have like food, they make food for whatever it is. It's obviously not for something wicked, but like a birthday or something. Either her or my aunt, they don't do it so loud anymore, but they used to be like, oh, don't eat the string beans there. These string beans got the smoked turkey parts. You don't want to eat we use, we use the pork for that one. Everybody's just like, why are you telling them that? Like, oh, because I don't eat pork. Oh, you're Muslim? Like, the conversation starts, especially if they're just coming to, one of our things for the first time. But yeah, you always put that on blast, like, don't eat from that one. That one's got pork. Okay? Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Auntie. Like you said, I had the same sentiment. I'm like, you stop eating. All right, Con, so we'll stop here. So pretty late. So yeah, definitely read that 3 and 4 over the week, along with other other scriptures in Maccabees, so that you can be reminded of Judas and his brethren and their father Mattathias and those that followed them, and the righteous works that they did to stand up for our people and our salvation. Without them making the great contribution that they did, we may not be here today. So, all praises to the Most High in Christ by way of the Holy Spirit, because we know without those three, what we do now, what they did then, none of it will be possible. That will say, Bashar Chag, Chanukah, happy feast of dedication. Remember, as they did, we can do the same now. Whatever's been torn down can be built up. Whatever's been breached can be repaired. Just as the altar burnt offering was repaired, we can repair things now that have been destroyed through the wickedness. Whether it be something personal, something internal, or something external.
And another thing that I realized before, not to try to go longer than you think, it's obvious Christ would be after this dedication. Because everything that those guys did is to exemplify him. So he's the top one. So whatever they're doing, it's pretty much him that they pretty much exemplify. So he's gonna be there because he's the top king. So whatever righteousness they do, it's pretty much they doing him, and he would be at that because he's the top king. He would be there
in spirit.
and even in spirit. Back then, whatever they were doing is him that they were exemplified. So he's gonna be the last one that's gonna show us how everything is done. Everything that the prophet did is example of him.
Yeah. The word of the Lord came to Jeremiah and said, the word of the Lord came to Ezekiel and said, that's Christ. All right. Cons, any other questions, comments, verses, scriptures?
Ultimately, we know it's the Most High's word, but he's the vessel, the vehicle, and the spirit that's driving. It says in John 4:24, words are not my own, but it's a symphony.
Even anything that we're saying right now, whatever we're saying right now, it's all about him.
That's what I said, right? I said the word of Yahweh.
The word what?
The word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah. See, I was giving the Most High the praise.
But he's like the vessel and the spirit that's the driving force to give us the word and everything. That's
Most
why
High, right?
He's sending back the comfort of the Holy Spirit and dealt with everybody with the Spirit.
So the word of the
But it
Lord
is the word of the Most High.
Okay.
Right. But we can only get it through Yahweh.
That's what I'm saying. Yahweh Shah is the word of the Lord. Yahweh's word.
word was made flesh.
Right. I'm just wondering because your comment was like I was saying something else. I was like, did I miss something or did I say it wrong? Or okay.
The same was in the beginning. I said the same was in the beginning. In the beginning was the word. The word was God.
All right. Okay.
Let me just read this. I'll just read that scripture just to get clear. This is John 14:24. He that loveth me not, so if you hate Christ, because it's only love or hate. I mean, you love him or you love him not, which is what's the opposite of love, hate. So he that loveth me not, keepeth not my saying, and the word which ye hear is not mine, but the Father's that sent me. But he's our guide, example, our counselor, our teacher, our master.
Mediator.
Oh, the poster we got. We got a poster that has like all his different titles. It's pretty fly. It's like, and he shall be called. So with that, we'll do the closing prayer. Shar Chag Chanukah. And that was John 14 and
I usually link it up with 14, then read 24.
got it.
I mean 14, 15.
If you love me, keep my commandments. Barakateh Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Asheram Tananawa, Pari Agapman, Tuara. La Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Af Yasher Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. Shabbat Shalom, stay in the faith, truth. Yehovah Basham Yahushai Babakushai Shamai Lanawa Aita Yem Yen Aita Shalak Mike Allah Wala Allahayim Tizwadakim Lashma'il Barak Rabhab Magan Wachaziyak Banya Yashala Washalak Lanawa Rabiam Kakamad Rabiam Da'at Rabiam Bayanad Rabiam Sabalanwak Rabiam Amawan Rabiam Aqua Rabiam Mahabiam Rabiam Haganad Rachanaya Wasalak Katayam Nawa La Akim Wa Akiwat Weash'ala Tamya Waiwalam Basham Yahoshai Tawara Aman. English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please listen to us now. Right now, send Michael and the righteous powers to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. Send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive all our sins. For the brothers, sisters in Israel, always and forever. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Prayer for the food. Yahweh, Gadawo, Basham, Rawanya, Yahweh Shai, Babakushai, Barak. Makal Yanawa Shatayawak Yanawa Yayan Yanawa Lacham Yanawa Shakara Yanawa Zakhak Hanakha Basham Yahoshat Warab Aman. Yehovah Basham Yahushai Barak Nawa Wayashala Wabat Yasapariam Shema Yashirullah Yehovah Ahoy Nawa Yehovah. English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless us in Israel in the house of books. Then we said, Israelite Credo, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. All right, that will say Shar Chag, Chanukah, once again. Have a blessed week, feast week. Stay in the spirit. Once again, overcome evil with good. Overshine this wicked, unclean spirit of so-called Christmas with the spirit of the Feast of Dedication. All right? Layla Tuah.